Hello and welcome to Complete with DLC, the only show doing an audio drama. I'm one of your hosts, Brad Knight, and sitting across from me is the actor himself, Jacob Griffin. Jacob, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm a thespian of the theater.
It's a good word, thespian.
Yeah, I know, right? Big word.
Yeah, underused, I feel.
It's better than just actor.
Yeah. Yeah, actor is just... I feel like everybody's an actor these days, especially in the West.
Yeah.
But we are not in the West, Jacob. We are in the East. And I am back in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Out of the rural areas of New Hampshire. It wasn't really rural. It was a small town, but still.
You didn't get eaten by a bear.
I didn't, though I did see a few.
Did you?
Yes.
That sounds terrifying.
No. One of them, they were both black bears. One of them was a little, I think it was a young one, because he seemed pretty small. He was minding his own business. He wasn't doing nothing to nobody. And the other one was a big, goofy-looking black bear playing with a ball. So, he was having fun.
My dad went to New Hampshire a couple weekends ago, and he was in, I forget, it might have been like a McDonald's or something like that, but he was waiting in the drive-thru, and all of a sudden, out of the woods, a bear just walked into the parking lot.
Yeah, you know, it happens. It's fine.
That sounds terrifying.
Nah.
I don't even know what I would do. I'd be like, let's get the hell out of here.
Black bears, giant chickens.
Really?
Oh yeah, giant chickens. They will not mess with you unless you, corner them. They are the least frightening of all bears. But I'm glad to be back in Massachusetts, because I don't think I had a decent cup of coffee the entire time I was in New Hampshire.
I love that was one of the few texts that I got from you while you were in New Hampshire. It was just, I haven't had a good cup of coffee yet.
Yeah, so I stayed in Lincoln, New Hampshire, and it is like, imagine anytime you've seen a movie doing the small town trope. That's essentially what Lincoln, to me, felt like. There were absolutely no chain stores whatsoever. I think there was one Dunkin' Donuts in the whole town.
Oh, Jesus.
And I want to say there was a Subway and a McDonald's, I think. And that, one of each on, opposite sides of the city. And I think the only, drugstore or, convenience store or anything like that was a Rite Aid.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and I didn't have signal almost the whole time I was up there. I only had signal at very, very brief moments, and that was when I texted you my various messages, one of which being that nobody in that town seems to know how to make coffee. Oh, I had one decent cup at a place called Flapjacks. Yeah, of all places.
That's a great name.
Yeah, and I actually ran into some people who are from our lovely hometown here, Jacob.
Oh, really?
Yeah, two groups of people. We met one at one of the scenic vistas. So they have these areas along the highway that you can pull over, hike a little bit, and you see a pretty cool view of the mountains or whatever. And we were on one of them, and we got to the end where there was a little bench and a sign explaining what you were looking at. And there was a couple there with two labs, a black lab and a little a white one. And we talked to them for a little bit, and turns out they were from our hometown. They were a nice couple.
Huh.
It was fun talking to them, and then. Funny enough, at Flapjacks, we're standing in line, and something about that town is the people there are incredibly polite.
Yeah.
The guys working, the people you run to the street, everybody is, really nice. It's like Canada, but they don't say sorry.
Exactly.
And we're waiting in line, just kind of talking amongst ourselves, and I notice at the front of the line, because we're towards the back, is a group of kids, a group of little... Around my age, a little younger, a little older. Let's pretend I can speak for a minute. And I'm noticing they're a little bit louder than the rest of the group, like the rest of the people in the line. I didn't think much of it, but as I'm listening to them more and more, they're talking and talking and talking, and one of them starts naming off streets from the city, and I'm like, okay, well now I know why these guys are so loud. It was an interesting to see how people from our city interact with the rest of the New Hampshire people, just that contrast.
My problem with New Hampshire has always been going there, right? Is it's nice for 2 days, but after a while I start to get the itch for technology. Cuz it's just it's mainly a problem of and this is maybe more of a problem with just society in 2016, but you can't use your phone when you're at a dinner table waiting for your food to come. You actually have to have a conversation with people.
Yeah, I was not prepared for social etiquette in New Hampshire. Where we're from in Massachusetts, the extent of your greeting is a nod. And maybe a polite smile if it's an older person. That's the extent of what we do. But in New Hampshire, it was like, oh, hey, how you doing? You know, and they expected like a full greeting conversation. I'm like, no, it's not what I do.
Stop it. Get away from me.
Why are you people all social up here? Probably because you don't have phones with service.
Exactly. They're forced to talk to each other.
I think that's what it was. I don't know. We spent a lot of time hiking and doing those like rock climbing and spelunking through the caves or whatever, and it was a lot of fun. That's something I enjoy a lot is hiking. So it has reminded me that I do want to eventually hike the Appalachian Trail one day. That is, yeah, it's something I decided I want to do a while ago, and this has reaffirmed my my belief that I want to do it.
Do you want to die?
No, why would I die?
On Appalachian Mountains? Isn't that like dangerous?
The trail goes from Maine to Georgia.
Oh, okay. I'm like thinking like what's the word? Like a giant mountain. Like
well,
with
yeah,
snow
it
and
cuts
stuff.
it cuts through the mountains.
Is there like snow and stuff? Could you like freeze to death theoretically?
Yeah, theoretically, yes, if you're not careful.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to die, Brad?
No. You're not going to freeze to death. I mean, you might run into a bear or two, or actually probably quite a few bears, but still.
What if you run into a bear and you have to kill it and then sleep inside of it like a tauntaun?
I'll have to channel my inner Harrison Ford.
Oh, it's going to smell bad, kid, but it'll keep you warm.
I don't know, it's something I definitely want to do. I really, really enjoy hiking. Just the whole, you don't think. Like, nobody speaks, nobody thinks. The only thing you're thinking about is the next place your foot's going to go, and just that peace of mind, I think, is really, really awesome.
It's kind of like a sort of meditative sort of thing, in a way.
Yeah, it's like active meditation, which is weird, because it's kind of like a jumbo shrimp kind of oxymoron.
Yeah.
But it really is. It's just, I don't know, I enjoy it. I got some reading done while I was up there, too, so that was fun.
Reading's always good. Knowledge is power and all that.
Yeah, I mean, the book I started, I'm still not really crazy about, but we'll see. Maybe it'll get better. I don't know. That dampened my mood a little bit.
I did an editing exercise while you were gone.
I saw that when I finally got back to Civilization, and I was able to check Twitter. I noticed that you had put a video up or something about editing like music together, I believe it was.
Well, I what I wanted to do, right, is I wanted to try to edit more videos just so that way I can get more proficient at it.
Yeah.
And so I thought, because apparently a lot of times, like if you're in media classes and editing classes, they make you do this where you make a music video for a song, but just out of like, clips that you could find on the internet or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was really inspired to make one for the Kanye West song "Famous" because the video he put out, I think, is terrible for that song. Like it doesn't fit that song is my problem with it. And so I made one that I think, fits the song, I guess, better. I don't know. I like the way it came out though. So, I mean, if you want to check that out, you can do that. Look on my Twitter. I tweeted about it. Yeah.
When I took a video editing class when I was younger in middle school, the teacher called it scrapbooking, was her term for it, where you would sort of just stitch a bunch of like videos and images together to coherently tell a story, whether that be to music or a poem or whatever the assignment was.
Yeah.
And it's a great exercise.
Yeah, it when it kind of all comes together and it actually works, it feels really good.
Yeah. It's just getting there is what sucks, because halfway through you're like, well, this is terrible. I don't know what I was doing. Like, this doesn't fit at all.
Yeah, I did that, and I made like 3 different versions of this video.
Yeah.
That I just kept showing to people. So like I would make it, I'd show it to somebody, they'd be like, oh, you could fix this here, you could move this here and fix stuff, and I did that, and then I finally made the finalized version that I would have liked. And then like the next night I watched another video of Kanye West, of like I was looking at a song, like a live performance or whatever, and there was this one shot of him where he's got like light behind him, and I was like, oh, I wish I could have put that in the video, but I don't want to make a 5th version of this.
Yeah. I really want to do it, but not that much.
Exactly.
But now, Jacob, that we have sufficiently covered our small talk quota, I think it's time to get into to what we're playing.
Let's do it.
Alright, Jacob, what have you been playing since I have left these flatlands of Massachusetts?
I don't think I've played anything since really the last time we spoke, except for last night. I made maybe the boneheaded decision to purchase the Amazing Spider-Man 2 video game on PlayStation 4.
Ooh.
And now, I don't know if I've ever really sufficiently covered my hatred of the Amazing Spider-Man movies on the show.
You have glossed over your distaste for the movie.
I think, honestly, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 may be the worst superhero movie I've ever seen in my life.
That's impressive.
Yeah, out of like all the ones that are like really bad, like Green Lantern, I guess technically Batman v Superman, and all that. Like I think that the Amazing Spider-Man maybe pisses me off the most because it's a character that I actually care about. Like, I mean, I care about like Batman and Superman. I don't care really much about Green Lantern, but like I really care about Spider-Man. Like when I was a little kid, Spider-Man was my favorite superhero, and then eventually I moved to Batman. But
yeah. I mean, he still is my favorite superhero, so I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, so it pisses me off so much. So, like, and I remember, like, a couple episodes ago I was talking about, like, how I got kind of in the mood to play, like, a Spider-Man video game, mainly because, like, Civil War happened, and then the announcement of the Insomniac Spider-Man game. And I played Spider-Man 2 on PS2, and it was hard to get back into playing that game. And so I was like, I would love to play like a newer Spider-Man game that's on like the newer systems, but there's one, and it's the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it's like $60, and I was not spending $60 on this. But on PlayStation right now, they're doing a sale on all the it's like superhero games and superhero movies and stuff. They're doing like a big superhero sale. And so they did Spider-Man Amazing Spider-Man 2 Gold Edition, which came with like all the costumes that were their DLC. It was like only $20, and I was like, $20, you know, if it's not that bad of a game, then it's not really that big of a loss, you know what I mean, for $20.
Yeah, it's low risk.
Exactly. So I was like, you know what, I'll buy it, let's check it out, right? So I bought it, I've played it, and it's not that bad, you know, it's definitely like, it's not like a great game, like as if like a Spider-Man game that someone put like a lot of time and effort into would be. But like, I think like the worst parts of this game are actually when it starts to follow the plot of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie. Cause like there's a lot of like extra stuff that's added into it because they have to pad out the time for a video game. So like there are characters from the comics that show up, like Kraven the Hunter shows up.
Oh, cool.
Wilson Fisk actually shows up, which is pretty cool. And like he's working with Harry Osborn, and they make like this, police task force to try to take down like super powered people, whether that be like Spider-Man or any sort of supervillains that pop up. And I mean, it's kind of cool. It has the whole random crime thing that the old Spider-Mans used to have. The swinging, actually, I think it might be a better swinging system than Spider-Man 2, actually. Because remember how I talked about when I played Spider-Man 2 that like the swinging was kind of off?
Yeah.
And trying to do it, and like I never really figured out the right way to use it. In this one, it's actually really smart that the left and right triggers correspond to his left and right hands. So say you want to go to the left or make like a sharp left turn, you could shoot it out with his left hand and then turn down the street really quickly and stuff. And it seemingly attaches to the buildings. I mean, I have no clue. It could technically be going to just some random skybox.
Yeah.
That some of the other ones have been doing, but it works out pretty well, actually, and I like the swinging a lot. And the combat is just Arkham Asylum, like literally like straight down to the press triangle, something pops over your head, and then you dodge their attack.
Yeah, that's a pretty popular combat system these days.
I mean, it's probably the best one for a superhero game to go through, because like you can get those cool like things that superheroes do, where they dodge attacks that no rightful human being should be able to dodge.
Yeah.
But with the Spider-Man version of the combat, I felt it to be a lot easier than the Batman combat even is sometimes. Because, like, while I've never found the combat in the Batman games to be that hard, like, it's just the window of time that you have to dodge an attack is much bigger than it is in Batman. And, I don't know, I just found it to be, like, super easy.
They give you more leeway.
Exactly, yeah. And so, like, I think this is probably because they meant it to be more for kids, because, like, more kids like Spider-Man than I think. I mean, kids like Batman, but, like, kids are more likely to buy the Spider-Man video game, I guess. I don't know. Like, it's just something where I think they made it a lot easier for maybe the younger generation.
It's entirely possible. Whereas Batman is, even the way it's written and the way the story is, the atmosphere they make is all very mature. Spider-Man's always been lighthearted and goofy and much more marketable to kids.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say that's another negative of this is that the voice acting for Spider-Man is not very good. I'm not sure who it is. He voiced him in a couple of different Spider-Man games, and I think he's in a cartoon or something like that. But I don't like his voice that much. I think he's annoying, and all of his jokes are pretty poorly written. Like he has one. What was the one today because I was playing it earlier today, where he's like, "Oh, I was afraid that people were gonna see me fighting you guys." That's the joke. Is it because they're ugly?
It's really a make or break thing for a Spider-Man game or a Spider-Man comic or movie or anything is the writing.
Yeah.
He has a very specific tone and joke atmosphere that he likes to create. So if you get that wrong, you're playing a very different Spider-Man.
And that's one of the things that I'm really excited to see Insomniac work on, because Insomniac's great at humor. Like whether it's in the Ratchet and Clank games or in Sunset Overdrive, their humor is always usually on point. So I'm very excited to see them take on Spider-Man and what their humor is going to be like in that game.
Was Sunset Overdrive done by Insomniac?
Yeah.
I guess that explains why Yuri Lowenthal is the voice of Spider-Man then, because he was the voice of the main male character in Sunset. So
yeah.
He already has previous dealings with the company.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is besides the new Ratchet and Clank, this is the first game that Insomniac's made with Sony, just exclusively in a long time, because the one before Sunset was this game Fuse that was a third-person shooter that EA published, and that came out on both, and then Sunset was obviously an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that Insomniac Spider-Man game.
Yeah, I think it's finally going to be the definitive Spider-Man game that we've been looking for.
I really hope so, 'cause I feel like he needs a good game.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, all of his games have been serviceable pretty much. There are some that stand out, I think mainly Spider-Man 2 stands out because it could have been awful because it was based on a movie, but it came out and was actually really fun to play at the time. And then there's Spider-Man Web of Shadows is pretty good. I think that's the one where it's you could switch the black suit at any time.
Yes.
And then the one where you were 4 different Spider-Man was pretty good. Spider-Men, technically.
Yes. Spider-Mans.
Yeah, Spider-Man. I don't know what the what the technical term would be for multiple Spider-Mans, but yeah, that one was pretty good too. And this one, it's serviceable. If you want a good Spider-Man game to play, if you can find it at a low price, check it out. Don't spend $60 on this game. This is not a $60 worthy game, but it's okay.
Yeah, if you can grab it cheap, you get a few hours out of it.
Yes.
But don't go in with high expectations. Save those expectations for the Insomniac game.
Yes. Brad, what have you been playing?
Well, as you can imagine, I have not been terribly involved in the video game world for the last 4 or 5 days, but I have played a bunch of Pokemon Go. That was one of the few things that I got to do a lot of while I was up there. I think when I left here, I was 7.5, and I'm back now and I'm almost 15.
Jesus.
Yeah, so I got quite a bit done. And it was also very useful for keeping track of how far I was walking, because I was hatching a bunch of eggs.
I have a question about that game. How does that work if you don't have any connection at all?
Well, you see, it's kind of weird, right? Because I would get signal sporadically, right? So if I opened the game when I had signal, and then I didn't let the phone lock itself or close itself down, I wouldn't be able to interact with the game. I couldn't spin the camera or move anything, but my guy would continue to walk, so it would continue moving my steps. So it would count towards my eggs. I couldn't really catch anything because there was no signal out there, so the Pokemon wouldn't spawn, but it would count towards my eggs.
Right.
And so when I got back through the city, I could hit all the Pokestops in the city, and there were actually a lot of people playing Pokemon Go in town. I was really surprised to see that.
Well, I'm gonna assume, because I've heard of Lincoln, New Hampshire before, that it's probably a huge tourism town. So
it is pretty big on the tourism.
So you gotta assume that a lot of people from out of town were probably playing it that came in. But I doubt anyone in that town is actually playing it, because they probably don't even know it exists. They probably don't even know that it's 2016.
All I know is that every person who works at a store there is either 16 or 46.
There's no in between.
No in between, because every single store I walked into had a help wanted sign, and every kid was on their, every person behind the counter had a phone in their hand. I can only assume they were playing Pokemon Go, because that's what I choose to believe. But I played a bunch of Pokemon Go, caught a bunch of Pokemon. Actually, some really good stuff up there, stuff we don't have down here. But other than that, this doesn't really count, but I'm going to count it for the sake of having something to talk about. I played Magic the Gathering for the first time while I was up there. We had stopped at the one Rite Aid in town to pick up a deck of playing cards, because we needed something to do to pass the time.
Right.
While we were waiting for something. And my brother noticed, well, actually I noticed, and I pointed out to him, that there were 2 starter decks for Magic over on the counter from, 2014. So we ended up picking them up, and I ended up playing what is this? I'll hold it up to the camera so you guys can see if you're watching the video version. A black and red deck.
Right.
And my brother played a green and red deck. So that was interesting. I've now crossed every major TCG off my list. I've played them all now.
Now, let's assume here, and I mean, this is mainly for the audience, not for me. Let's assume that maybe somebody doesn't understand what the hell you're talking about.
All right, so Magic the Gathering is arguably one of the biggest TCGs.
Well, I know what Magic the Gathering. I mean, what is the red and green and the black and whatever?
So the red, there are 5 in total, I think. I think there might be more than 5, I'm not sure, but I know of 5. There's white, black, red, blue, and green. And each one of them has cards that are different types. They do different, the decks are built differently. Like green decks, for example, focus on putting really big minions out onto the field. The black and red deck that I have, actually, is very similar to a deck in Hearthstone that I used to main called Zoo. And it's focused on putting a bunch of little guys on the field and swarming your opponent. And I think the white decks are very focused on healing and buffing minions. And so each of these decks play very differently, and they're meant to accumulate different play styles. And it doesn't take very long to learn, but my god is it expensive. I never quite understood how people could spend thousands of dollars on a deck to be competitive. After playing Magic, I can now understand how people spend thousands of dollars. I think just for the 2 starter decks, and each of them came with 2 booster packs, I think it was $35.
Yeah, that's not bad for 2 starter decks.
Yes, but if I'm to believe that starter decks in Magic are anything like the starter decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Used to be when I was a kid,
yeah,
they're probably awful by competitive standards, so you need a lot of cards to make them competitive, so I can only imagine how quickly the expenses rack up in this game.
You want to hear the saddest story that I think I've ever told in my life about myself?
Sure.
When I was a kid, right, I used to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! And I wanted to get into playing the card game. So I went and bought a starter deck just because, I wanted to have, a decent amount of cards when I first started.
Yeah.
And you know how they had the 3 starter decks for the 3 main characters of the show, right? It was, I forget the girl, there was Joey and Yugi. And I had my choice of the 3, and for some reason I got the Joey deck.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I probably would have went with the girl was probably, Mai?
Yeah, it was whoever was because it was the 3 main of them that were always hanging out.
Yeah, so
it was that girl.
Yeah, it could have been Taya, but I doubt it would have been one of her decks. It was probably Mai, but Mai was the deck that I always loved to play. But yeah, I do feel sorry that you picked Joey. Wrong choice, Jacob.
Yeah, I know.
Wrong choice.
Terrible choice.
But yeah, I've now played every major TCG on the market, to my knowledge.
Have you played the Warcraft TCG?
I have.
Have you played Eye of Judgment?
I have not. I have no idea what Eye of Judgment is. No.
It's kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh, but it was like they sold regular cards for it, so you could play it as a regular card game. But it was a PlayStation 3, PlayStation Eye game, where when you put the cards in front of the PlayStation Eye, they would come to life, like how they did on Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it was always cool. I always thought if Eye of Judgment came out and it had a brand behind it, like Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon or something like that. Obviously, it wouldn't be Pokemon because it's not on a Nintendo console. But I always thought if it would have had that, it would have done a lot better than it did because it was just some card game that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah. But with the whole augmented reality push happening right now, I really hope we see a Yu-Gi-Oh! Augmented
Yu-Gi-Oh!
reality
Go.
game. Yeah, I mean, whatever. If I could just walk up to people and duel them and we play the cards and the monsters actually pop up, that'd be awesome.
I would just walk up to people and be like, "It's time to duel."
I never quite understood why they stammered the D.
I don't know, because it sounds cool.
Yeah, I guess it was just for emphasis, but I mean, I never quite understood that. But other than a bunch of Pokemon Go and some Magic the Gathering, I have not played many video games. So that's all I have for you this week.
One last thing I just want to say about Amazing Spider-Man 2 before we go, and I was talking about the voice acting being bad for Peter Parker. It's also bad on everybody. Like, it's bad on the civilians too, because they just sound like that one crane operator from the first Amazing Spider-Man. Like, hey, Spider-Man, swing this crane around. You mess with one New Yorker, you mess with all of us. Sounds like that. That's every single, like, civilian in that game.
I like to think that that's what every New Yorker in the Spider-Man universe sounds like. No matter what video game or movie you're talking about, that's just what they all sound like.
I really hope that, like, someone puts that voice in, like, Homecoming. Just in the background. Like, as he's swinging by, you go, Spidey!
I can only hope. I can only hope. That man has showed more enthusiasm for Spider-Man than I ever will.
I wish the show was, like, big enough to where I could put that out there in the universe and someone would campaign for it, and then it would I would be the voice of that guy.
Oh, God. I would never wish that upon you, Jacob.
But imagine going to see that movie and then listening and you hear that voice.
To hear
Hey,
your New Yorker voice in a Spider-Man game,
yeah.
it's something that I would rue the day. But something I would not rue is the news, Jacob. And I have a lot of it today, so I think we need to start cracking. Alright, Jacob, so to start off our very long news train, I have something here from Trials of the Blood Dragon. And it's free on PC, under one very specific condition. So Ubisoft is offering the PC version of the Trials of the Blood Dragon for free, only, though, if you can complete the game's demo with 15 faults or fewer.
I'll do it. Let's do this.
Yeah, so, for those of you who don't know, Trials of the Blood Dragon was one of the announcements at E3 2016, and it's a mashup of Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, which was also a spin-off, and the motorbike racing series Trials. I don't really have much other to say to this story, other than the fact that it follows Blood Dragon hero Rex Power Colt's kids, Slater and Roxanne. And to take full advantage of the deal, players need to download the demo from Uplay starting, it was July 22nd, so it was going on for a while. So the full game, if obtained, includes more than 30 missions, but the demo will allow you to try out the basics while also competing against other players on a global leaderboard. So what do you think about this sort of marketing strategy, Jacob, where they'll give you the game if you can beat it in a timely fashion?
I like the idea, and it also puts out what's it called? It puts out Blood Dragon out into sort of a bigger audience than I guess it had maybe before, because I can only assume that this game came out and probably wasn't doing as well as they maybe would have expected, because Trials does pretty well for them.
Yeah. And
Blood Dragon wasn't an unexpected hit when it came out, because it was the spin-off of Far Cry 3 that was like all 80s and neon. So like I can only assume that this game probably isn't doing as well as they thought, and they were like, oh well, maybe if we do this competition, it'll kind of get people talking about the game. Yeah,
they want to sort of stir up some more conversation about it.
And something tells me too that this whole demo thing is maybe like people will play it and say like they can't beat it. They'll be like, well, it's fun. Maybe I'll try it out. It's only $15, so.
Yeah, and if they can't beat it in the 15 tries, maybe that motivates them to buy it so they can beat it,
Exactly. That was basically what I was trying to get at. I don't know if I said it improperly or not. I also didn't say that properly at all.
Did I say it improperly? So the deal runs from the 22nd to the 31st, so you guys got another 5 days to hop on this deal and try to obtain your free copy of Trials of the Blood Dragon. And best of luck to you. I will not be participating because I am not good at Trials. I love Trials, I'm not good at it, and this game sort of annoyed me. I don't like the game, so.
I think the announcement is mainly what annoyed you. I think if
it annoyed me so much.
If the announcement wasn't the way it was, I think you would be less ambivalent towards this game.
I would have, honestly, if the announcement wasn't the way it was, I would have forgotten about this game. It would have been one of the ones that came out and she'd be like, oh yeah, I forgot about the game, cool, whatever. But that just announcement has ingrained it in my mind as something I will forever just loathe.
I like how they did it though, kind of like a wrestling promo. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe that's why I didn't like it. I'm not a fan of wrestling.
You need to become a fan of wrestling.
Speaking of becoming a fan of things, another Xbox One price drop has happened. So the 500 gigabyte Xbox One price has been cut once again. This time down to $249 as the Xbox One S launch date is approaching on August 2nd in North America, Europe, and Australia. So that one is going to be $400 for 2 terabyte. So what do you think about the $249 500 gigabyte Xbox One, as opposed to paying just $150 more, getting 4 times the storage space, and getting basically the cheapest 4K Blu-ray player on the market? Do you really see any reason for somebody to purchase an Xbox One normal at this point?
Well, I could see maybe if someone was like, maybe someone needed that extra push to buy an Xbox One, and maybe this cheaper price is that push for them. I could see maybe that being it. Plus, you get Forza 6, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Gears, and Rare Replay with it. So, like, you're getting, it says 4 games, but technically you're getting 30-something, whatever it would be. How many are in Rare Replay? Is it 30?
It's 30 games, so
it would be 33 games you get?
Well, you only get to choose one of those 4.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Yeah, otherwise that would be a very, very good deal, and I would, I'd buy it just for that.
Yeah. I would choose Rise of the Tomb Raider because I haven't played that yet.
The launch dates for the 500 gigabyte Xbox One and Xbox One S and the 1 terabyte Xbox One S at $300 and $350 respectively have not been announced. So the only one we know about for the One S is the 2 terabyte launching August 2nd for $400. But if you don't want that, then you can now get this cheap $250 Xbox One.
I think there's no reason to buy an Xbox One at all right now when Scorpio is coming next year.
I think that if you are one of the people who needs to, who wants to take advantage of the 4K Blu-ray player, then that is enough reason to buy it, because you're
I guess that would be the one reason.
I mean, that's why the PlayStation 3 did so well, right? Because it was the cheapest player at the time as well.
Yeah. I guess that would be the one reason why I would say, yeah, then get an Xbox One S. If you have a 4K TV and you want a 4K Blu-ray player, then buy an Xbox One S. But if you really can wait, just get a Scorpio. There's no reason to buy a 1S right now. There's no reason to buy a regular Xbox One at all, even, I would say. Yeah,
unless you're just one of those people who needs to have the newest thing as it comes out, in which case you are probably going to buy it anyway, no matter what anybody says. So,
in which case, you're probably a rich man, and at which point can you give us a small loan of $1 million?
Yeah, I would, that would be appreciated. What is also appreciated, though, is the fact that No Man's Sky has been confirmed not to need a PlayStation Plus subscription to play. Which is, to me, not terribly surprising, but I guess this was being debated for a while, unknown to me. I didn't know this was a topic of discussion.
Well, I can see why this is, because it technically has multiplayer. Like, they've been so cagey about this.
Yeah, it's one of the questions they never directly answer.
Yeah, so it technically is multiplayer. You could technically come across another player.
Yeah, but the chance of doing so is so inhumanly small.
Yeah, but there's no actual multiplayer where it's just like, oh, here, let me invite Brad to the game, and now we're both on, like...
I'll warp to his planet or whatever.
Now we're both on, like, Nimbus 13 or whatever I'm going to name it. Can you name planets in this game?
I believe so.
Because I know you can name creatures and stuff. If you can name planets, I'm going to name one Omicron Persei 8.
I'm sure you will not be the only one doing that.
Right.
And also another small piece of news, not terrible, but the PC version was delayed by 3 days.
I was gonna throw that in there because I didn't know if you saw that.
I did see that. So everything else launches on August 9th. The PC version is going to launch on August 12th.
That's weird, right? They haven't given a reason for it, but that's odd that it comes out. I assume it's probably a server thing.
I imagine. I mean, it's not a 3-day delay is not long enough to fix anything. It's not long enough to do anything. So it's probably just a snag in porting it to that platform. But
I assumed what it was that it was a server thing where they didn't want it getting hit all at once by everybody.
It's possible, although they have said that a majority of what's happening is stored locally, so it's not a lot of it is server impact, but it's possible. They haven't given it a reason, and I honestly have no idea. So it could be anything. Regardless, I am cautiously optimistic for the game still. Speaking of things I am cautiously optimistic for, Blizzard has decided to do an audio drama for their next expansion, Legion, and it's going to be in podcast format. So this was announced at San Diego Comic-Con, and it's at the panel titled "Warcraft: The Road to Legion." And this is the first time Blizzard is doing this sort of this new platform. I don't think they've ever attempted something like this before, so I'm curious to see what it will entail. Beginning August 1st, the publisher will launch an audio drama titled "Tomb of Sargares," or Sargares rather, which will blend iconic music and sound effects from the series with prose. So, Jacob, I don't want to read too much of this because it's a lot of just quotes and whatever from the panel, but what do you think about this? Are you interested in an audio drama featuring the story of the Orc Warlock Gul'dan?
It doesn't do anything for me because I haven't played WoW in a long time, but I'm sure that if you're very invested in the lore of World of Warcraft and if you still play the game, I'm sure this is great for you. Audio dramas are a cool thing that I don't really listen to because it's not the way I want to ingest a story.
Yeah.
But I think for the people that like that sort of thing and the people that are invested in WoW and its lore, it's gonna do a lot for them.
I think it will do very well for the people who want this to be a thing. And so it's going to play over the course of 4 episodes and will be available free in podcast format. And the podcast feed is available for subscription on iTunes and other popular podcast platforms. So, if the only important quote takeaway from this was the director of story and creative development, James Wow? W-A-U-G-H. How in God's name do you pronounce that?
Is that WOG?
WOG, maybe?
Maybe.
I don't know. James W is what I'm going to call him. My buddy
W.
James. He said, we're really excited about this internally. If the community likes it, we'll probably try to do more. So if this is received well, then, we could see more of this in the future. But I'll give you guys a link to the iTunes subscription for that podcast feed if you're a WoW listener and you want to check this out. But onto something I'm a little less optimistic for. It's more Sonic, Jacob. And we got... yeah.
I'm a little optimistic.
Well, we got 2 different Sonic games here to choose from. Which one do you want to talk about first, Jacob? Sonic Mania or Project Sonic?
Let's talk about Sonic Mania because it's probably the one I have less to talk about.
Okay, so Sonic Mania is their tribute game. It's a full-fledged game, but it's for the 25-year-old anniversary that they... 25th. What did I say? 25-year-old?
You said 20. You just said 25, which sounds weird.
Yeah, their 25th anniversary for Sonic as a franchise. And it's slated for spring 2016 on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows PC. And the important thing to note about this is that it's a 2D adventure, like the old Sonics. And it's going to have 3 playable characters, Sonic, Miles, Tails, Prower. I like that they gave his full name there. People don't usually do that. And Knuckles. And it's going to include new abilities and worlds to explore, and also including classic stages featuring new twists. And they gave a reveal trailer, which I'll give you guys a link to in the description of the episode, as always. So, what do you think, Jacob? Are you excited for this throwback to the old 2D Sonics?
I mean, I love old 2D Sonic. Like I think I said when we talked about biggest disappointments at one point on the show, I was a huge Sonic fan when I was a kid. And
yeah, I feel like everybody was.
Yeah, and Sonic 06 broke me, but as a person and as a Sonic fan,
just broke you down.
Exactly. So I haven't really played a Sonic game since. I've the ones that I hear are really good. I try out. Like I tried out Generations and stuff like that. And so I like the fact that it's the old art style. It looks like a Genesis game just made now. I think that really appeals to me, and I think that it's really cool to see Sega doing something like this.
Yeah, a lot of people will cite the failure of, or the downfall of Sonic the Hedgehog when they transitioned from 2D to 3D. And I think there's a lot of merit to that. Sonic, as a core gameplay mechanic, is going fast. And that doesn't really translate well in a 3D space. So he really suffered from that, and I think that 2D is definitely the way that he's going to see his best games. But right. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with him going forward. And speaking of going forward, Sonic Mania isn't the only Sonic the Hedgehog game that Sega has planned for 2017. There was also another one announced called Project Sonic. So Project Sonic is coming to PlayStation 4, Windows PC, and Xbox One, as well as Nintendo NX. So that's sort of a cool thing, that NX is getting a few more titles added to its roster before it's even given an official name. But according to the game's teaser trailer, Project Sonic, like Sonic Generations, will feature 2 variations of the Sonic the Hedgehog, his modern incarnation and the shorter, chubbier Sonic that more closely resembles the original character model from the Sega Genesis. So beyond that, the trailer doesn't offer too many specifics. It calls the game setting, quote, the darkest of times, and it shows Sonic sprinting through a dreary, ruinous world apparently destroyed by robots. The trailer encourages player to join the Resistance and dates Project Sonic for holiday 2017. So it seems to be very closely trying to replicate what Sonic Generations did for people, and I think that's a good thing. Generations is one of the, like you said earlier, one of the games that people like from the Sonic franchise recently.
Something tells me that this is just going to be called Generations 2 when things are all said and done. Because it literally just looks like they made a sequel to Generations. Like, it looks more like dark and dreary like Sonic 06 was, where it was kind of like in these realistic environments, and it was like robots and dragons taking over the world and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm kind of excited though. If it's more like Generations, then yeah, that would be great, because Generations is a really fun game. Like, even the 3D levels were fun, which is, it's hard to do in a Sonic game. Like, I think it's just a lot of times too, we've accepted that the 3D levels are okay in games where they have another gimmick that's terrible, like that one where he turns into like a werewolf.
Yeah.
And then it turns into like a weird God of War style, like beat 'em up sort of thing with Sonic. Like, the 3D levels in that were good, but I think it's just compared to the werewolf levels, it's not very...
Not what you're looking for.
Exactly, yeah.
But I think the bottom line is, if you're a Sonic fan, you're probably pretty excited, because it looks like you're getting a sequel to Generations, which is one of the better received Sonic titles, and you're getting another 2D Sonic, which I don't think I've ever met a Sonic fan who said they didn't want another 2D Sonic, so...
I didn't like Sonic 4, which was like their last like big 2D one, but I mean, who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, as long as they're not as long as that's not the one they choose to emulate with with Sonic Mania, then I'm okay with that. Speaking of being okay with things, I think I'm okay with this next story. I haven't quite decided yet, but the Nintendo NX will be a portable cartridge-based console, and it's going to come with its own display. So this is all sources that gave this to Eurogamer. So take this for what you will. None of this is confirmed, but Eurogamer is generally not too far off the mark when it comes to this stuff, so the credibility of this story is all about how much you trust the source. So the NX will include detachable controllers that sit on either side of its screen, according to the report, and also comes with a docking station to connect the system to a television to use as a more traditional home console. Unlike current generation consoles, however, Nintendo's upcoming hardware will use cartridges. This choice of media speaks to its dual status as a console and as a handheld system, although the size and format of these cartridges has not been confirmed. So, because of this, this one source told Eurogamer that the console will not be backwards compatible with other Nintendo systems, very much unlike previous Nintendo consoles where almost every one of them is compatible with the system that comes before it. So, it's sort of a weird step for them, and internally the system reportedly uses the NVIDIA Tegra mobile processor, and we had previously heard from the Wall Street Journal last fall that Nintendo was going after, quote, industry-leading chips to power its new system. So, Jacob, I want to get your first impressions on this, where we're getting a much more mobile-based console than we originally thought it was going to be.
I don't know. I like Nintendo's handhelds and stuff, so if it's kind of like one of those, then I guess it's okay, but like, I don't know, I would love them to just make a system that just attached to my television, I grabbed a controller, and I played a game. This seems to me like maybe they're doubling down more on the tablet stuff that came with the NX. That was like their whole controller is a tablet and has a screen, and you can use it to play the game on that if you can't play it on the TV. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Let me try to sway your opinion, right? Because I've been thinking about this a while since I've read the article, and I think what they're trying to do is get the best of both worlds. And let me explain what I mean by that. So, with the Tegra NVIDIA chip, the mobile processor is it's one of the best mobile processors there are. It's pretty good, but it's not up to snuff with current gen consoles, right? So this, you're not really going to expect it to compete with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. But also remember that a while ago, I believe it was back in December, we had heard that they were working on the compound cloud computing for their system. So think of it like this. When it's in console mode, or it's in handheld mode, right, and you can pick it up and play it like you would a DS, it's going to be the best handheld on the market, just based on what it's using for a processor, because it's probably one of the most powerful handhelds. And think of Breath of the Wild, right? So that's an NX launch title. So that sort of speaks to the potential that the system has. And when it's in console mode and you're docking it to a TV, you can use the cloud computing to make up for what you lost using the Tegra processor. So I think that people are writing this off too quickly, and I think we need to wait and see exactly what kind of legs this system has in terms of processing power if that cloud computing thing comes through. Because if what we saw of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, it looks like a pretty good game, and if that's going to be a launch title for the NX, I think this system is going to be a lot better than people are giving it credit for. Where I do have a worry, though, I want to see if you share the same worry, is that it says it's going to include detachable controllers that sit on either side of its screen. I hope they do not make the same mistake they did with the Wii U and make this thing too bulky. Because I feel like this thing's probably going to be pretty big, and I don't think that's good.
What do you mean by too big? Do you mean like how the controller is now for the Wii U?
Well, yeah, I think of the Wii U gamepad. That thing's pretty big, right?
Yeah.
And if this thing has two detachable controllers sitting on either side of its screen, as one on each side, this thing is going to be pretty massive, and I don't know that you want to be lugging this thing around as a mobile, like, handheld, right?
Here's the thing, right? If they can get it into the form factor that the Wii U controller is now, the tablet controller, I don't think the Wii U tablet controller is that bad as of now, right? It's not that heavy, and it works. It's just not a comfortable way to play a game. But I think if it's in more of a mobile sense of being a handheld, like, say, taking it to somewhere and playing it, I think it could work a lot better than me. Like, when I'm sitting in my living room, right, I don't want to play the game on this tiny screen in front of me. I want to be able to play it on my TV. But if I can take, like, let's say Zelda Breath of the Wild, if I can take Zelda Breath of the Wild with me out into the world, like, say, like, I'm on, a bus ride to school or something like that. If I can play Zelda on that bus ride, or if I'm in between classes at school, like, that's kind of a game changer sort of thing, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
But the thing with that is I'm worried about how this thing is going to run power-wise, like you said, with the Tegra. Like, if when I'm in portable mode, the game runs like crap and looks crappy, like, then there's no reason for this to be a mobile thing, right? If I can, say, take this game mobily and they look, say, like how the Wii U version of Breath of the Wild looks, then that's fine. If it's basically a portable Wii U, that's fine. But when I'm at home, if there's no real discernible difference, like you said with this cloud computing thing, like, we don't know that that's exactly what's happening here.
Yes.
Like you said. But if they are doing that, and say, like, when I plug in Legend of Zelda, if it, looks a lot better, then that could be something cool, basically to have a portable console with you at all times, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be a very good thing that they've stumbled onto here. Another worry I have is the battery life of when it's in portable mode, because I feel like that's probably gonna suck up quite a bit, so I'm curious to see how they manage the battery life. But more than anything, if they want to ease my worry on this system, give me a damn picture.
Show me what it looks like. Explain it to me. Let's just have a treehouse stream at this point.
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean? All this information is getting out of there. Now is, like, kind of the perfect time to do it. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's other times where they can talk about it, right? There's TGS coming up. There's Gamescom, which I don't even know if they're going. And there's Paris Games Week. Like, there's places for them to announce this. But I think the more and more they wait is the less and less that they're the news story. You know what I mean? Like the announcement of a new Nintendo console is big. But think about it when it comes to, let's say they announce it in November or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They announce it in November, and then immediately they're hit with a slam of tons of new games. So their story of what the NX is gets lost in the shuffle of Call of Duty reviews, Call of Duty strategy videos, Battlefield strategy videos, Titanfall 2, how does that game look? Mafia 3, how's that? Like, all these big games coming at once, like, it gets lost in the shuffle. Whereas if they announce it now, like, there's no games out now, right? Like, the biggest game coming out is No Man's Sky. And even then, like, that's not like some huge, everybody knows this game like Call of Duty or Battlefield, right?
Yeah.
So I think like now, or at least around now, if not in the next couple weeks, basically before September, I think is their best time to announce this, because then they have no competition in the news cycle.
And not only that, the longer they wait, the more these leaks and rumors start circulating, the more you're letting the internet speculate. And you're going to have people coming up with drastically different ideas than Nintendo themselves has, or they're going to be doubting the console before it's even launched. So give us a picture, show us at least what it looks like, so people who are worried that, like myself, I'm worried that it's going to be too bulky, put us at ease, right? Or people who are worried about the battery life, give them something. Don't let the internet run away with these wild speculations and let themselves worry to the point where they don't want to buy the console when it launches.
Yeah.
There's, like, you want the internet to speculate a little bit to sort of build up hype, but they're letting it go on too long.
Also, I'm curious, too, about... Remember there was that news story about how it works with PS4s and Xbox Ones or something like that? Like, I'm curious what that means. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm really, really tired of putting NX stories into the news document so we can talk about it and we have a great discussion. But the discussion always ends with, well, if they would just tell us X.
Yeah, it always ends in our famous now catchphrase, wait and see.
Yeah. And it just sucks because I feel like they have a great opportunity here that they're sort of squandering by not letting us know anything.
Yeah.
Like, they've always been cloak and dagger and, smoke and mirrors and never letting anybody know what's going on, but, enough's enough. Let us in. We want to know. We're curious.
It's never been, like, this bad before, where we just haven't known anything.
Yeah, how long have we known about the NX?
We've known about the NX essentially since halfway through the life cycle of the Wii U, I want to say.
Yeah, I feel like we've known about it for a really long time.
And since then, like, we've gotten little news stories that have popped out. Most of it's been this rumor/leak stuff, but, like, I feel like they need to get out there and just give the information themselves, because they're putting themselves at a huge, like, disadvantage at this point.
Yeah, and when it's slated to hit retail in March of 2017, so they're, you want to kind of give us a little more detail before the launch date.
Yeah.
But I think we have stressed our aggravation at Nintendo long enough.
Yes.
Jacob, that is all I have for the news today.
Right.
Yes, that's all I got for you.
So now, we move into the quick time question?
I believe so.
Yes.
Alright, welcome to the quick time question. For those who don't know how the game works, I will explain it to you. I'm going to ask Jacob one form of trivia question. It could be in any format that I choose. Either one multiple choice, a few, true or false, or maybe a quiz if I feel like being adventurous that week. This week, Jacob, it's going to be a multiple choice question about Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon.
Let's do this.
I
got this.
Alright, you ready?
Yeah.
Alright, here's your question. Which one of these games was referenced with an Easter egg inside of Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon? Was it A, Skyrim, B, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, C, Red Dead Redemption, or D, Grand Theft Auto 4?
I think it was Skyrim.
You think it was Skyrim?
Yeah.
You gonna lock that in? You sounded unsure of yourself.
I
want you to be confident with your answer, Jacob.
I want to say that came out around the same time that Skyrim memes were big. And also, too, I remember the big joke on the internet was that Machinima called Far Cry 3 Skyrim with guns, and everyone made fun of that. So, I could see them maybe making a joke about that. So yeah, I think Skyrim is the game that's referenced.
You locking that in?
Yes.
Okay. Jacob?
I'm wrong, aren't I?
You're correct.
Yes.
It was Skyrim. On the coordinates X522.6, Y417.7, you will find an Omega Force soldier sitting up against the wall with an arrow in his knee, referencing the arrow in the knee from the Elder Scrolls Skyrim.
Yep, that makes sense. I kind of remember seeing that.
Yeah, I tried to keep all the other choices so they launched around the same time, so all four were launched within like 2 years of each other, so...
Yeah, all those seemed like could have been, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like none of them were like these out of nowhere references that it definitely couldn't be. Like it wasn't like or Barbie Horse Adventures. You know what I mean?
I should have thrown one of those in.
You should have, because then I would have just been like, well, it's clearly not that.
I thought you were gonna go with Modern Warfare 2. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you could reference from Modern Warfare 2, really.
Probably one of the characters.
Unless there was just like a level where Sergeant Rex Power Colt just mows down an entire airport.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of like the big thing from that game,
Yeah,
really.
talk about controversies.
Yeah. No, you know what's weird? That didn't really have a huge controversy behind it.
I think it's because they allowed you to skip it. I think that's really what avoided the whole wave of people complaining, was that you never had to play it if you didn't want to. They warned you about it at the beginning of the game. They warned you about it again right before the level, and you had ample time to skip it.
Like, I remember in reviews, right, they would be like, there's a controversial scene at an airport, blah, 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 and then they would talk about it. Well, they would say that it's optional or whatever, but that was, like, the most I heard about it. It was never any, like, Fox News thing of, like, Call of Duty is training children to mow down people in airports. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which I feel like we would see today if we had a game with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you imagine a game with an airport scene like that? And, like, if, like, not Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare had a scene like that in like a space airport.
I mean, I think the fact that it's in space sort of negates that in a way. Like, the thing with Modern Warfare is that it's a realistic sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Although I guess we sort of had that with The Division. Some people were sort of upset with the message that was sending across. So I guess we do still have that sort of thing today.
I mean, yeah, like, don't get me wrong, like, games definitely still bring in sort of an ire of controversy, but, like,
we do very well.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't been as bad as it has been in a long time, but I think if more games like, say, Hatred come out, that's definitely not going to help us.
That's a blemish on the video game industry we're never getting rid of.
Yeah.
Thanks, guy, whoever
I can't
made
stand,
it.
too, that game even got as big as it did, because it's just Postal 1. Like, Postal 1 was a big deal back in the day, and this game is just essentially that, but with better graphics. Ooh.
Yeah. But Jacob, you won this week.
Yes, I did.
I'm not terribly surprised. I think you're sporting like a 50% win rate with these things, so.
Probably. I bet you if we go back to the inception of the QuickTime question and figure out how many I've gotten right versus how many I've gotten wrong, it's definitely probably like a 50-50 at this point.
Yeah, we could go back and do that. I won't, but we could.
Yeah, no, it's too much work. We need like a fan who's dedicated enough to do that for us.
I would never ask anybody to put themselves through that. But what I will ask them to put themselves through is the spiel. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that at completewithdlc@gmail.com. It's going to be the best place for you to send your comments, complaints, questions, concerns, whatever you want to send our way, that's the best place to do it. If you want one of us, either Jacob or myself, to answer specifically, please put our name in either the body or subject line of the email so I can direct it to the right person. And even if you don't ask for somebody specifically, we'll sign it to make sure you know which one of us answered you. If you don't want to email us and you just want to keep up to date with the show, head on over to Twitter. We are Complete with DLC on Twitter. That's where Jacob's going to put up all the information about whether a new show is being posted on YouTube, on the RSS feed, or wherever new things are being posted. That's the place you want to go. Jacob will keep you guys informed. If you don't want to follow the show and you just want to get new episodes as they come out, head over to wherever you get your podcasts, whether that be iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or Soundcloud, or any of the affiliates thereof. Once you're there, please use whatever review software they give you, whether that be thumbs, stars, arrows, or smiley faces. And let us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we can improve. We love all the feedback you guys give us, and we try to improve with every show. We'd like to think we're moving in the right direction, but quite frankly, we never have any idea. This show is live streamed at twitch.tv/completewithdlc. Not every episode is live streamed, so please frequent Twitter to figure out whether or not we're live streaming a particular episode. We'll let you guys know in advance. The VODs have said live stream, and sometimes the VODs of behind-the-scenes recorded episodes, because I record video even if we don't live stream. Those VODs are uploaded to our YouTube channel. Check out the episode description to find the YouTube link, because it's really long and I cannot possibly recite it here. Jacob, if they would like to get in touch with you, where can they do that?
If you want to get in touch with me, you can do so on any sort of social media at itsjaygriff, ITSJYGRIFF. I'm most active on Twitter, so if you really want to get in touch with me, Twitter's the best place to do that. I also tweet about, any sort of thing that I'm doing out in the world. Brad, if they want to get in touch with you, where can they do so?
If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can do that on Twitter as well. I'm Calgny on Twitter, KALGNE. I'm not terribly active, but I do frequent it quite often, so I will notice you. If you get in touch with me there. But if you want to have an actual conversation with me, maybe play a few games with me while you're at it, head on over to Battle.net. That's Blizzard's little interactive hub for all their games, and type in the friend code BRAD, hashtag 1261. Once I accept it, please let me know where you heard the friend code, whether that be a podcast episode, a YouTube video, whatever it is. Let me know where you heard it so I can make a note of it. I don't delete you. You can play some Overwatch with me while we chat. Or Hearthstone, or whatever you want to play. I don't know. I'm open to many things. Jacob, I think that's everything.
That is everything.
That guy over there, that guy's Jacob Griffin. This guy over here, this guy's Brad Knight, and this has been Complete with DLC. And thank you for listening.